So we're going to go back to our front plane, and again that's bisecting the important feature. So this is where what I'm going to be doing is I'm making a profile and then revolving that profile. So the front plane, right click, new sketch, back in there. And this time I'm going to make a rotation axis. So I'm going to choose the line. This is going to be a line that's for construction, and it's going to have an infinite length. I'm going to start at the origin of that feature, and I'm going to snap perpendicular. So click OK. And escape. It did not accept the snap, so it let me place it, but it still didn't put the constraint there. So let's add a relation. This line and this feature need to be perpendicular to each other. Check mark. And I'm hitting escape to make sure everything is deselected. Alright, now that that's done, what I need to do is draw the profile. So I'm going to start at the origin and I'm going to move my way up and around. Let's take a look at the profile one more time so I have it in my head what it's going to look like. So right here is the portion I'm interested in. It looks like the center of the arc is 0.3 inches up, and it looks like it has a diameter of 0.25. So that's the arc portion. And the base of the cylinder is 0.23 high. And it doesn't look like the drawing is showing me what the diameter of this inside cylinder ought to be. It's going to be, we'll take a look at it and see if we can figure out what it looks like. So let's make the cylinder first. I'm going to start with a line, starting at the origin, coming out a short distance, looks like 0.1, up a certain distance, and then I'm going to hit escape here so I get out of that command. I hit escape twice. Let's go back to the drawing. Notice what this really is just an arc up to the middle point. So let's go back to SolidWorks, and I'm going to choose an arc. This is a center point arc. Let's see if there's a better option. A 3-point arc. That's the one I want. So there's 1 point. There's a second point. And then hopefully I can control it. There's a third point. This isn't really where I wanted to drop it, but I'll go ahead and place it here and then we'll manipulate it as we go. So escape twice. Now what I want is for this point right here to be coincident with the center line. So let's do that. Instead of doing the add relation, a faster way is to hold down Control and just select several items I'm interested in. So if I click the point and it's highlighted, I'm going to hold Control down, click the center line, and I'm going to say I want those 2 points to be coincident to each other. And that moved a lot of things. Let me undo that. So Control Z to undo. Let's put a dimension first. A smart dimension. And I'm going to dimension this small line 0.1. Now escape, point, hold Control down, center line. Now let's make those be coincident. Okay. We want the diameter of this circle, so right click, holding right click and up to the dimension command. We want the radius of this circle to be 0.25. We want the center of the circle to be 0.35. And the last thing we want is we want to make sure that the center of the circle, holding down Control and clicking the center line, I want that to be coincident on the center line. Notice that made everything fully constrained, but I did not close the profile. So this infinitely long construction line doesn't finish a closed profile. So I'm going to choose a line, and I'm going to choose this point, and that's going to finish the profile. This is the contour that this is the profile I'm going to revolve. So I've exited the sketch now. I'm going to choose the Revolve command. Then I'm going to click the center line, the axis about which I want to rotate, and it's going to snap and recognize that the sketch I'm interested in is the one that contains that rotation axis, and it's assuming I want to go a full 360 degrees. That's true, and so we'll click OK. And now we've finished that shape. So we're really almost finished with our part. There's a couple other things that I want to do. Let's go ahead and save. One of the things I want to do is I want to put some holes here. Okay, to do the holes, I'm going to use this hole wizard. And we're going to put counterbore holes. Number 2 size screw. So this is probably not what your settings are set up to right now, but you just choose a number 2 screw. It says up to surface for the end condition. I'm going to change that to through all. Okay, and there's some dimensions here. I'll just leave the default dimensions. And then what I'm going to do is change tabs to the position tabs, and now we're going to pick where we want our hole. The first thing I need to do is say which face I'm going to put the holes on. So this is the face. I'll click that. Now that I've done that, you notice what it's done is it's created a sketch with an origin. Now I'm going to drop my holes roughly where I think they should go. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then click the check mark for OK. And I've created those counterbores. It's called a C-bore for a number 2 binding head machine screw. So let's expand that. Notice one of the sketches is fully defined. That's actually a Revolve sketch. The other sketch is not fully defined. We know that because there's a minus sign. I'm always going to be looking for your sketches to make sure that the minus signs are all gone. You've fully constrained your sketches. Let me edit the sketch. And the reason that it's underdefined is because these holes, which represent the center of the holes, can move around. So I'm going to choose a corner rectangle, and I'm going to put my corner rectangle starting at this point and going to this point right there. Okay, so make this to be for construction and click the check mark and hit escape to deselect it all. So there's the corner rectangle. Now again, I'm going to be using control. I'm going to select the point, control, select the corner of the rectangle, and I want those two to be coincident with each other. Point, corner, control, corner, make them be coincident with each other. Okay, so let's go ahead and dimension this rectangle to make sure it's centered. So I'm going to do a smart dimension from one of the outside edges to that line. It turns out this dimension is 0.13. So enter. That fully constrains this line at the location of this line. Now I also want to show that this edge to, let's see, hit escape. It looks like I'm in the wrong command here. There we go. Now what I'd really like is for this one to always be the same as the 0.13. So I'm going to go ahead and drop it. Something you might not have noticed before, this has a name. This dimension has a name. It's called D2 at sketch 9. I'm going to go ahead and just accept it for whatever value it is for a minute. Hit escape to get out of the dimension command. Double click on the first one and notice this is called D1 at sketch 9. Cancel out of that. So now that I know that this dimension is D1, we'll go back over here to D2. I'm going to double click it to go back to edit the dimension. And I'm going to say this is equal to double quotation marks D1. And notice I had to do capitalized at sketch 9. Quotation marks again, and it turned blue, and the blue means it recognizes that entry. In other words, that entry is correct. If I hit enter, it snaps to 0.13, and the advantage of doing that is now if I go back to D1 and let's say I change it to 0.1, notice the other dimension also changed to 0.1. There is an indicator, this little red summation tells me that this is driven by something else. This is a driven constraint. So let's go back and change this to 0.13, and let's repeat that for the other two dimensions. So the dimension command from the edge to the line, drop it, and then equal to, parentheses, or quotation, D1 at sketch 9, close parentheses, enter, and check, and then last dimension equals D1 at sketch 9. Now you probably have figured out that since I'm having to clarify that this is sketch 9, we can use this type of relationship in any of the sketches at any time, with the condition that you always move forward in the tree. So this fully defines this sketch. I'll hit escape to deselect everything, exit the sketch, and my holes are now placed where I want them. Now going back to what I said about the parameters, when I'm in Boss, Extrude 1, and Sketch 1, if I were to go back and edit Sketch 1, let me do that. Right-click Sketch 1, go to Edit. You'll notice that everything else has been grayed out. At this point in the program, Sketch 2 doesn't exist yet, so I could not be referencing Sketch 2 or Dimension 2 or anything like that. So I'll exit the sketch. We've got our part finished. We're ready to save and move on.